Oh, hi there. Haven't made too many videos regarding current events in the past while. I just haven't been watching too much of mainstream media. And what I mean by that, I mean like the news. Um, yeah, I've been, watching a lot of movies that I already own on DVD or Blu-ray of late, so that's why I haven't been covering, current event topics. Anyway, um, what this video was going to be about is, I've known for a long time that, my YouTube channel is way too quiet. Absolutely nothing happens on there, and there's discussion to be had, and topics that need to be brought up, and it's just way too quiet. So it's very odd, and I've known that for very long time. Anyway, um, so based on what limited feedback I get, I have to kind of decipher what exactly the message is is getting sent to me from the internet. Um, I mean, YouTube doesn't really change too much. I mean, there's the certain types of videos I watch, like top tens, Chris Chappell Uncensored News, Uncensored China, I should say. Hockey highlights, all that sort of stuff. Music. Um, and I unfollowed Facebook, as I think I mentioned in my last video, because I didn't like the undertone of what was being said to me, and I was getting a lot of basically vague, fucked up messages. It was just like, what the fuck is this even doing here? And um, you know, that's what other people were posting or implying, and not necessarily directed towards me, but it was on the forums that I joined because they happened to be on the sidebar of my Facebook. I didn't even feel particularly interested in joining them, like savage memes and stupid forums like that. They all had similar names, and they emphasized not being a rat and don't be a snitch and don't report them and all this sort of stuff. And anyone who makes a big stinking fit about that sort of stuff, especially on the internet, is full of shit. They're the biggest snitches on the planet, and there is no one you could snitch to that it would even matter. So I didn't even bother. And most of the time, if they asked me questions why I was joining, I'd be like, yeah, it's on my sidebar or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they'd be like, are you going to agree to the rules and things like that? I'd be like, I'm not even going to say anything, fuckhead. I'm just going to look and see what you're doing. Because what you're doing doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm observing. And, I've spent a lot of time in earlier years being, half drunk, uh, three sheets to the wind while I've been on the internet. That's actually a fucking bad combo. Um, it can lead to all kinds of things. It's like, because, you're not in control of the internet. That's something you gotta know. Doesn't matter, how stubborn you are, how you're very focused on the things that interest you or anything like that. Always shit's gonna, come out of left field and, get in your way basically. So you go on the Facebook, you go to YouTube even, probably Twitter and any other outlet, and you're going to run into things you're not going to like. And there are people who actually want this to get louder and, in a sense, get worse. They think people should have to see this. I remember the first Facebook forums that were available on my sidebar. There were veganism ones, and on the surface, that's perfectly reasonable they'd be there. It's a healthy alternative and a good lifestyle choice, and it's got a lot of benefits to it. But you join this group, you have no idea what it's going to be about, And it's primarily, just about the slaughter industry and how that's so wrong. And then you go, well, is that really so bad? Well, it is, because they show the most grotesque pictures, the most barbaric pictures, and they say it's a representation of the whole thing. And it's not about, you know, being vegan as being better. It's about the meat industry being evil and them shoving it in your face. And then you start to question what's the reasoning behind that? Why are they doing that? Is it because they're trying to promote fruits and vegetables, or is it because they're a savage? Gotta ask yourself that, because the lines get blurry, especially when you start hearing them talk. Uh, that had to be, 3 years ago. I saw that, and I had just had enough. Like, these people were OCD, and when I say OCD, I mean basically had to be their way, didn't want to explain anything other than their rhetoric, got mad when you question them, and that's the gist of it. When I say someone's OCD, that's basically it. Has to be their way, and they get really mad when it's not, and they do not handle losing an argument very well. And they lie too, so that's another thing you gotta keep in mind. People on the internet fucking lie. And, the people who accuse you of lying quite often don't have the balls or the courage. You don't have to have balls to have courage, in the sense that a woman could have courage. It's just when you refer to men, you refer to them as having the balls to have courage. It's an old saying. Anyway, the point is they don't, um, they'll never show their actual face. And if they do, it's like, so they're a Hispanic person, so they're a fat white guy, so they're this, they're that, whatever. There's not enough to go on there to really, really identify them as a person. And there should be a level of anonymity with the internet anyway, but I mean, you pay your internet provider, you got your IP address, you probably got some sort of serial code on the actual computer you're using, because isn't IP address, isn't that like to do with the internet? Like, because like I share a household with other people, and they have their own computers, and I don't pry into what they're doing. I like practically never go on their computers. I have my own computer, and my computer is, yeah, it's not bad, but it's kind of a piss off actually, because I bought it 6 months ago, but I'm looking at all the Boxing Day sales, and I'm like, there are better computers that are like $200 cheaper than this one. But I needed it right then and there. My other one's piece of garbage over there, and it was burning out. I don't know how to fix it. I'm not that good with computers in that sense. Anyway, um, yeah, this undertone. I don't know if it's like some sort of program they put people through. They just go, yeah, put them in category A 102, put him in category D 166, or anything like that. Well, who knows? And it's just some automated program that sets these sort of examples. Because I started noticing that I got very little in the way of conversation that looked like it was actually coming from another person. It was very, you know, artificial intelligent looking. Like, it's like, it looked like an unmanned uh, troll, is what it is. And those have to exist. I've never heard anyone mention an unmanned troll. Um, Basically, one that operates on artificial intelligence and, you know, is there to piss people off and isn't actually a real person. It's like, I don't know, a decoy or something like that. Who knows? As it were, I don't think artificial intelligence is actually that far along. I mean, the problem with all that sort of stuff is it only knows what you tell it to know. It doesn't have uh, the capacity to learn anything outside of that ability, at least yet, and probably not for a very long time. It's just this whole Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. It's not going to happen. It's fundamentally flawed. Anyway, yeah, getting back to the underlying message. Um, there most certainly was one on my social media, and I really, really fucking hope it isn't the same thing for uh, a lot of people like myself going onto the internet and having to put up with that fucking shit. And it's not even fucking applicable to me. Like, well, that's the thing about propaganda people don't understand is, sure, it's showing up in your face all the time, whatever topic it is that's pissing you off, whether it's the meat industry, current events, political arguments, what's going on in Hollywood, or I guess even the NHL or whatever. Even though the NHL is, pretty benign, I don't see how anyone could get really offended by anything they have to say. Unless, of course, you're in a hockey pool and your player isn't doing as well as he should be, uh, then there's nothing really that the NHL says is really that offensive. I don't know. I suppose if you're in the upper echelon of society, maybe you get to hear things that us common stumblebum drunks don't get to hear, perhaps. Um, yeah, but yeah, getting back to this underlying message, it was such a piss off, and it's like it started to feel like these these cretins had like pointed questions that they wanted to ask me, and it's just like, yo, man, this is like not even applicable to me. Why the fuck are you even putting an undertone of this shit uh, on social media that I'm reading? Because I wouldn't even be surprised if people whom I know but haven't seen for a while, don't see them in my regular circle, don't actually see this stuff. Even if I have it on public, even if I were to copy and paste it and put it on my own page or whatever, I don't think they see it. I think that aspect of it, I've lost control on my social media, and I don't know exactly what people think about me, but I know there are some people out there that had rather nasty opinions about me, and I mean nasty in the mean, vicious. Um, just didn't like me for various reasons. Um, Mostly personal bias, I suppose, because they just don't like seeing a white guy be successful. Let's face facts. There's a lot of nationalities, creeds, genders. Well, genders. There's only two genders, and that can lead to an argument in this today's society. How the fuck that leads to an argument, I don't know, but it does in some circles. Um, but yeah, you go on the internet, and you're gonna have people who don't like you anyway, no matter what you do, and it's a bunch of crazy stuff, man. And I've had to put up with the internet just being stupid for so fucking long, and I got tired of it. And I've been making the Boba Fett videos of late. I've always liked Boba Fett. I didn't actually have any Boba Fett merchandise at all until Halloween, and that's when I was gonna dress up as Loki actually, but that costume kind of fell through because the horns didn't come in. But I was able to scrounge up a costume and play as Boba Fett. And then I started thinking about the character and going, well, there are things that the story could be written a different way. Nothing's set in stone yet, so we don't really know what Disney's gonna do with the Boba Fett character, although they say it's canon. But anyway, I've only heard it, once or twice, or maybe even three times. I don't know. But I've had some discussions over Boba Fett, and there are people out there with really fucked up opinions, and I go so far to say they're fucking perverts, like absolute perverts. Like there are a lot of fucking things that I do not look up on the internet, and these people, who the fuck knows with them? I mean, like the conversations I was having with them, like I heard what they said about the Rancor, and I mean Luke Skywalker kills the Rancor, which is a really awesome thing for Luke to have done. That was like the best thing he did, even more important than destroying the Death Star, in my opinion. But um, those are two different things. But I heard a lot of I didn't hear a lot, but I heard some. undertones of really screwed up opinions, and then people try to twist them. It's like the translation between um, YouTube user to YouTube user, Facebook user to Facebook user had a middleman. And I kind of believe that because I was actually hearing this kind of stuff from people who ought not to know about this sort of stuff. I didn't think about that sort of shit um, when I was in their position. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, this world, who knows where it's going. Um, anyway, they had yeah, really, really twisted opinions about that sort of stuff, from what I gathered anyway. I'm able to read this stuff a bit differently than other people because I'm just used to not getting much information, not much dialogue out of anyone. And, um, things that seem normal to some people are quite odd to others. And, um, yeah, I don't know. Um, yeah, getting back to there's certain things I've not looked up on the internet, and for example, I've never looked up gay pornography. That is the honest truth. Dig up my internet history, the entire thing, you will not find any of it on there. Um, well, I mean, a very long time ago, there was this Asian chick at my house, and she downloaded gay pornography. I don't know why, and she denied it afterwards, but I know it was her. Um, I mean, it's exactly the kind of things you do anyway. I mean, I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people before. Uh, um, but, you know, on this computer, on that computer that I had for 7 years, uh, and I also, did I have another computer before that? I don't even remember. I don't think so. Not one I would say that was my own. But anyway, on all that stuff, never have I looked that up. I mean, obviously, usually when I'm insulting someone, I will may have called them gay or faggot or whatever. Um, but I never looked that up into a porn search engine. And, I just figured people should know that in case they want to believe something else. Because a lot of people are like that. They want to believe what they want to believe. And you can't stop them from doing that, even if they're completely wrong. Um, well, that was just one example of something I've never looked up. And I would not appreciate if someone came around and started lying about that. I mean, obviously, my web history is not a perfect diamond, and I don't think anybody's is. I really started thinking about it when I saw that clip from South Park where Cartman was paranoid his girlfriend was going to see his entire internet history. And, Kyle was going to print out a copy and give it to her, just to be a prick to him. And, although obviously there are things I would rather were not on my internet search history, I could still stand in front of a bunch of people and say, yeah, whatever, so what? Um, there's not anything more I could add to that. I mean, if someone's got a specific question, I'll answer it, all right? Yeah. Another thing is, I very rarely do I look up interracial porn. The reason I don't do that is because it's always black guys. And, as a white guy, I obviously do not like that. It's like, it disgusts me. I mean, as I'm sure it does for most black guys to see it in the reverse. And in fact, I make the argument that it's just as bad for anybody else, depending on the context and what's going on, and a lot of factors involved. And uh, put it to you this way, as far as sexual encounters, anybody could uh, be really offended by their situation. Um, I actually found through my internet search that I don't actually think I would like the idea of dating black women, Asian women, Hispanic women, or uh, East Indian women, or any of those sorts. Like, most of them sound like more trouble than they're worth. A lot of them ain't as pretty as they like to say they are. I mean, in particular, Asian women. I mean, some Asian women are very, very beautiful, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are ugly. I mean, I live in Vancouver. I know that. And that's not racist. That's just the truth. I mean, a lot of ugly white women too, but a lot of ugly people everywhere, actually, to be honest. And black women, no. They're, they can be very pretty. I mean, like Beyonce pretty, but Beyonce is not really black. She's a hybrid. She's partially white. That's something black people don't like to admit, but she has white facial characteristics. So she's definitely not full on black. I mean, her skin tone is black, but that's not the only indicator of being white. Um, and that whole scene is getting really old really fast in today's modern day media, where that sort of stuff's going on. And you keep making those jokes, go ahead. Wherever there's an action, there'll be a reaction, and when that happens, you ain't gonna like what that means. I'm gonna leave that at that. And okay, as far as East Indian women goes, sometimes they are very beautiful, but the one thing you have to know about a very beautiful East Indian woman is that she has 10 guys around her at all times that do not like white people and are openly hostile. And it doesn't matter if she's the nicest thing in the world, she's not worth the trouble. Not worth it at all. In particular with East Indians. I don't know what it is. It's just they're particularly brutal and particularly stupid and prone to illegal activity. As far as Asian women, actually, they're a lot more reasonable as far as, it's casual relationships, usually nothing too far out of the way. I mean, some are a bit more complicated than others, but as a whole, it's, you know, not really an issue most of the time. Um, but as I said, I'm not particularly attracted to them, They come from a continent where there's 1.5 billion of them. There's no uniqueness whatsoever to them. And they are civilian occupation force here in Vancouver. They're here making all the money, making us look stupid. In the modern day, media propaganda has spun against us. So, I'm not happy about them because of that, which I think is reasonable. Obviously, situations, might I might configure what my decision making will be depending on what's going on, but offhand, not especially interested. Um, Unless there's adequate reason for being interested, but we'll just have to see about that. Um, hmm. Well, uh, what else did I want to bring up? Um, I do see things which I don't want to tell you anything about. I mean, I could, but I don't want to say it on the internet because the clues may go away if I say them, or they'll be dismissed as paranoia and they'll go away anyway. But there are some things I have seen, and I go, that's a coincidence that I don't think it is a coincidence. Um, okay, I'll bring it up. Um, I'm getting a medal. I bought it. Anyway, this medal was never mentioned on any of the forums I was on. It just was never mentioned. And then all of a sudden, the day after I'm going about getting this medal, it has been mentioned. And it was really a surprise because, the medal I'm getting is quite a good one, paying a good price for it, but it was never mentioned before. And now it's being mentioned, and it's being mentioned in such a way that it's like, how did they know? How did they know? Um, I don't know. That's the answer to it. Because I didn't tell them, that's for sure. It was a separate transaction with different people I was dealing with, but it was all done on the internet. And if it's the same circle of goons following me, then I suppose they would have that information. I just don't know how they would do it, or what they're going to do with it, or any of that stuff. Don't know it. Hopefully they're not too much of bastards to me, but we're going to have to see. This is, uh, this is a question that must be asked. What do those fuckheads know? And what do they think they know? And what are they lying about? Or at very least exaggerating. Um, yeah, because I mentioned, my entire internet history and how I would have no problem standing up in front of people and going, yep, that was it. Yeah, 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 yeah. And if they try to say, no, this is how it was, or you wrote a big long rebuttal to someone's post on Facebook one time and this is what you wrote, and maybe I was half drunk and I don't entirely remember that post, I could read it and go, I didn't say that, or I didn't write that, or this, that, and the other. I mean, I won't remember it offhand. I never will. But if I get shown it, I may go, yeah, I remember writing that, or something like that. Uh, I'm fairly certain I've never been so drunk that I completely wrote something and don't remember a thing about it and never will remember a thing about it. I don't think that ever happened because, I guess if you get that drunk, your words start to sound like they're coming from a retard. And, if you make a post like that, then, people are going to notice on the other end, and you're going to get notifications for it, so you'll see it the next morning if you were hypothetically pissed drunk and you wrote shit on Facebook. But I don't think that happened. I mean, there might be just one molecule in my brain that, when shown this information, perhaps it will kindle a very small spark, and I might remember writing it, but I don't know. I'd have to see. Someone have to show me. Uh, Offhand, I don't think I have anything to worry about. Like, I know there's a line and you don't cross it. Um, but, people are open to their interpretations, and sometimes people like to be assholes, and the flimsiest excuse to be an asshole, they'll take it. I mean, there's one douchebag who was telling me, I had no rights because uh, I forget what insult I hurled at some guy. It wasn't much of an insult. Basically, I just told him he was wrong and his opinion was stupid. And then this guy comes along and he's like, well, because you said that, you lose the right to complain. I'm like, who the fuck are you telling me I've lost my right to complain? Get the fuck out of here, you idiot. I mean, once you get people coming around saying you've lost your rights to do this, you've lost your rights to do this, that's when you start to realize you live in a fascist society, man. Fascist. Some asshole wants to tell you what to do, and he's a stupid asshole too. Um, so this has to be configured and calculated, and endless possibilities of what other people could be thinking. And these are all people you don't know. You don't know what they look like. You don't know what they sound like. You don't know what kind of personality they have. You don't know anything about them, and they could be saying anything. The imagination, boundless possibilities of being paranoid of what these despicable things could be fucking well thinking and plotting and scheming against you. Oh, because, you know, I look at all my social media. Well, I don't look at it very often, but I remember a lot of the things I said on the videos I made, and, you know, I go, I could see that pissing somebody off. Um, However, I don't hear it very often. So, I don't know. So, one of those things. Um, but I did get that message about these people having knowledge about the metal I'm getting. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm probably not even going to make a video about it. I mean, you just take my word on it. It was never mentioned before, this specific metal, on any of the forums I was on, and then all of a sudden they started talking about it, and it's like, how the fuck did they know? And that's like not even the only example. I've seen things that are, you know, kind of odd. Can't think of one off the top of my head because, you know, things barely happen on my social media. Like, I've definitely been excluded. There's no doubt about that. Deliberately. However, it's better to be, you know, in a hermit kingdom of your own than, you know, uh, be in an area with other people who are pissing you off. I'd rather be on my own than have to deal with people who are pissing me off. And they're just crapping my style. Just, you know, I'm just trying to get on with my day. And I got people who are trying to fuck me up every step of the way. This is all this cult of personality bullshit. Because I have social media. I've also got people who go, well, he's on the screen, he's talking, somebody can see that. Therefore, we have the right to tell him what to do because he's showing his public image. And it could be used as propaganda, which contradicts their worldviews. So, we'd say anything we want about him, and because he voluntarily agreed to make YouTube videos, therefore he's lost his rights. And to that I say, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You bastards. They ain't beat me yet, but I don't know. These look like the kind of people that never gonna quit. Like fucking coyotes or something. They just never go away until they get what they want. Well, welcome to the jungle. Well, I didn't have anything really specific to talk about. I mean, I mentioned a few things. You know, I didn't even really feel like commenting on those sorts of things, but they came about, and like I've heard the vague message from social media written by other people, and it's very craftily written. They don't want to give their own game away, but it's almost like they're prodding me or trying to instigate a response out of me in kind of a vague, deniable sort of way. And that's really fucking sleazy. And you know, considering all the advantages these idiots have, and that's the fucking best they can do, fucking pathetic. I was fucking pissed drunk half the time and you fucking couldn't foil me? Yeah, you really ought to be ashamed of yourselves. You guys are fucking failures. Anyway, on that pleasant note, I think I'll end this movie. It's about 2:30 in the morning, so only a creeper is gonna watch this video. So whomever this creeper is who's gonna watch this video, you can go fuck yourself. I already don't like you. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Have a good one.